Hey, what's poppin' and welcome to Creator Talks, the very first session on YouTube Live, where we'll be speaking to content creators about all things content creation. We're standing live from the headquarters of Epidemic Sound here in Stockholm, Sweden. My name is Herman. This is my colleague Sheila, who's going to be explaining a little bit more about what Epidemic Sound is, as well as what these kinds of talks are.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sheila. So we work with creators at Epidemic Sound. So for those of you who don't know, Epidemic Sound is a market-leading platform, as Herman said, headquartered in Stockholm with a mission to soundtrack the world. So Creator Talks, what is it and why are we doing it now? Well, we at Epidemic Sound work really closely with creators like yourselves. So we want to support and empower creators and raise the level of content. We have a range of content creators ranging from filmmaking to photography to side hustles. And we wanted to take this opportunity to showcase the creators and the creativity that they bring to our community. We're really proud of our creators, which is why we wanted to do the Creator Talks.
Sweet. And for an occasion like this, we actually have two of these creators, the professional content creators, here with us today. Not here in Stockholm, but digitally. Good enough, right? I think we should be able to bring them up on the screen at any second now. So we have David and Jake, both two professional content creators from different paths of lives, walks of lives, I guess we could say. So I think, yeah, there we have them on the screen.
There we go.
So I think it would be quite interesting for you to do a little bit of a just explanation of who you are, Jake and David, since I know you're from vastly different backgrounds and have vastly different areas of expertise. So David, why don't you start and explain a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here?
Hey guys, yeah, so my name is David Zhou, and I run a photography and filmmaking YouTube channel. My interest in photography and filmmaking eventually led me to my channel today, where I try to teach others about photography and filmmaking techniques, about cameras, lighting, microphone, and really also about how to build a business, both from a content creator perspective and from a freelance business perspective. And a little fun fact about myself is actually about 3 months ago, I quit my full-time job as a consulting manager to pursue YouTube full-time because it's been a passion for so long.
Cool.
Amazing.
I guess your consulting expertise will come in great here, consulting us with some of these topics later on. So thank you, David. What about you, Jake? Tell us about you. You've actually been here in Stockholm before, and we've actually met. But for the people who haven't met you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so hey, I'm Jake Tilk, and I'm actually a way different creator than a lot of the creators that work with Epidemic Sound. So I teach people how to grow, market their businesses, side hustles, anything like that. And I actually been doing YouTube full time for a little over a year now, about a year and a half. And it's been an amazing experience working with Epidemic, teaching people how to grow and market their online businesses. My background is in professional marketing. So before I quit all my corporate job, like my corporate job was as a digital marketing manager for multiple healthcare companies. And yeah, quit the job, took the leap, and now I run a whole bunch of different kinds of channels on different platforms and different niches. So I'm well-versed in monetizing.
Cool. Perfect. Great to have you both here.
Yeah. So for this first session, I think we picked the right ambassadors to join us because this session is all about content monetization. So maybe I can kick things off a little bit and ask, before we dive deeper into YouTube, maybe I could talk to both David and Jake about why is content monetization important for creators?
Yeah, for me, I think being able to monetize your content is really what's going to let you pursue your projects and content creation as a full-time venture, right? Like letting you dedicate more of your time creating the content that you want to put out into the world. And nothing beats getting paid to do what you want to do, right? So you're turning your passion into a career. And when you love what you do, it's a lot less of a job. And that's why I think monetization is so important for creators.
Yeah. And how about you, Jake?
I think monetization is really important for creators because it lets you broaden your horizons, number one. Number two, it does let you just chase that dream, whatever it is. And the sad reality of it is, as you start as a creator, you're not going to be making money. That, in my opinion, shouldn't be your focus, but you should definitely have it in your mind and have the right tools that you build up over time in order to reach that place where you're actually monetizing and getting value.
Do you think monetization has changed your view on the passion at all? Like, you know, that standard question, did the money change you? But rather, have you felt that once you started making money from the content. It's shifted from like a passion to a profession. Has that switched anything for you guys?
I think for me, like, I think it's more of it's an extra goalpost that's been added, right? Like before, it was just about creating quality content. Now it's a little bit about both, but I don't think it really changes the reasoning behind why I made my channel, right? Because the main goal there was to always kind of both educate and entertain, right? Hopefully bringing people information on how they can pursue their craft, in my case, photography and filmmaking. But the monetization piece just adds in, just cool, this lets me allow to do more, right? You think Mr. Beast, right? He wants to make bombastic, fun videos. And I think the fact that he gets paid more by sponsors just opens up the realm of more creativity and letting him make bigger videos. And I think that's really what's added to it. I think it's a great piece to pursue. And obviously it will give you the freedom to kind of pursue it as a full-time career as opposed to just a hobby. But I don't think it's really changed. I don't think the money has changed me.
No? Okay, fair enough. Good to hear. You seem like the humble David still, so that's good.
Yeah.
Good to see.
I'd be interested in hearing Jake's take on this.
Yeah, so honestly, in my opinion, the money hasn't changed me just because of the fact that I love creating content. And I think the important thing from the start is if you do start making money, like David said, if you reinvest it into your content, much like Mr. Beast does on a way higher scale than the majority, 99.9% of us are going to be able to do. It's really important that you just make better and better content, but also you don't want to get completely wrapped up in the whole financials of the situation. If you come up with a good strategy that fits your niche and fits your audience, then you shouldn't have a problem. You just need to be really careful, like with the money you get, how you allocate it.
Mm-hmm. And so is it fair to say that both of you tend to, the money that you do receive from content creation, you tend to reinvest it into the content in order to elevate the quality of that content, so to speak?
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Do you have any tips on how to do that? Like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about investing in gear? Are we talking about investing in, whatever it may be, lighting, or is there anything in particular that you're looking at?
So I'm thinking you're right. Like, one thing that content creators do that I think is the most impressive thing that almost every content creator does is you have to wear so many hats, right? Like you have to know about filmmaking. In my case, that's my niche. So like that fortunately came pretty easily. But for Jake, right, he wasn't a filmmaker, right? So he had to learn about photography and videography to make his videos look good. On that same token, right, you got to start learning about how to run a business. You are your own business as you become a content creator that's fully monetized. So you have to start understanding, okay, how much of this money can I reinvest into it? And if this is going full time, how much am I paying myself? Right. So there's a lot of that aspect. But yeah, a lot of the reinvestment is going into, your equipment, into maybe, setting up opportunities. If you're doing a lot of travel videos, right, you'd probably be wanting to invest that money into doing more traveling for your content. So really it's finding the right balance and understanding, okay, how much can I pay myself and how much do I want to put back into the business in order to continue to grow it and keep creating the content that your audience is looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about reinvesting into our content, and that's a very good point. But to get started, you really don't need much besides your phone, if I'm being honest, because I have a lot of channels myself. As David said, I'm not a filmmaker, and I never have been. And I have a lot of fancy equipment now because I've reinvested into my business. But at the start, I started with my iPhone, and I got monetized with just an iPhone. And it goes to show that, if you level up your game slowly over time, it's not a shameful thing, not in the slightest. And you grow, you learn, you evolve every single day. And the important thing is to just keep going.
Actually, Jake, to add to that, big thing on that, that's such a great point to bring up about, using your phone is I have a lot of friends and a lot of, people who watch my videos ask me, I'm like, hey, what camera should I get first? And I always ask like, what's your budget? And they'll be like, oh, $500. I'm like, don't buy a camera. If you already have like a recent iPhone, that's going to be better than not. If anything, invest into, other equipment, whether it's lights or tripods or whatever, or even just to take that money and put it again into your content because, really the barrier to entry these days is so low. It's just a matter of creativity and a matter of consistency.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild how well these phones film these days. Like you put it up sometimes and you're like, what the hell do I look like that? Is that how sharp 4K is in reality? But yeah, okay, good advice.
Yeah, but maybe we can shift a little bit and talk about YouTube specifically and content creation.
For sure. So let's play a little bit of a game. Let's talk more about YouTube. I'm a YouTuber who just started my channel. You two are the experts on our panel here today. So can you briefly talk me through the YouTube Partner Program? How do I get there? What does it entail? What does it mean for me in terms of monetization on my channel? I think, Jake, I've seen a lot of your videos on this topic specifically. So why don't you start and tell me a little about the YouTube Partnership Program?
Yeah, so you're right. I have made a lot of videos about how to start on YouTube. So to get started on YouTube, to get monetized in particular, you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, which it might seem like a lot, but if you're making videos that are between 5 and 10 minutes a piece, then it's really not that much. But the important thing is, when you're starting your YouTube channel, and this is the #1 thing that I'm going to push on everybody out there, is to pick a niche. I don't care what it is. If it's something you're passionate about, highly interested in, there's probably an audience there for it, and you'll be known exactly for that. So for instance, when I started the Jake Tilk channel, which is the Marketing Side Hustles business channel, it was all about showing people how they can grow those big fan pages on Instagram and make money by actually growing those pages, whether they promote companies or they sell the pages when they get big. It's up to you. But the important thing is, you got to pick that niche, build up that base audience. And once you have that base audience who are interested in not just the content you're making, but in you as the creator, then you can branch out and do a whole bunch of different things.
And now you're speaking in this in reference to like building that initial channel in order to be able to get monetized in the YouTube Partnership Program, right?
Yes, that's true. You have to build up that initial channel, and the best way to do it to get monetized is to pick a niche and make content specifically around one topic, and that will get you to 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of watch time in the fastest way possible, because not all of us are going to go viral off the start.
No. Fair. But what does it entail exactly? Is it only ad revenue, or are there other vehicles to make money through the YouTube Partnership Program? What do you like? What's the reality there? David, maybe this is a question directed more for you. What do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of ways, right? So getting into the YouTube Partner Program kind of opens up a lot of the different kind of revenue streams that YouTube allows you to kind of monetize directly on the platform. So one of them, of course, is AdSense revenue from ads played on your videos. But there's also different things that you can do. Of course, you get access to live streaming, and you can start doing super chats. So if you have fans, they can donate through that way, right? That's very similar to how kind of the monetization structure works on Twitch. You also have the ability to unlock like having the merch shelf, which you can kind of just drop ship your designs on merch, and it's directly featured underneath your videos, and as well as memberships, right? I think PewDiePie was the first one to do it well. He did it for charity, but basically it also allows your fans and viewers to then go ahead and do a monthly subscription to your channel. So getting into the YouTube Partner Program kind of opens up all of those avenues.
Yeah, interesting. I think we should put a pin on some of those and get back to them. But especially like some of the merch you mentioned, because I know you have a lot of experience with that. But let's move it back slightly to like short form content in general, because that seems to be all the rage lately. It's what gets a lot of views. It's what gets, the reach. And how does monetization there work? Are you using it for AdSense? Are you using it as like a funnel to your long form content, or what purpose does that serve for the both of you?
So real quick, jumping into that, Jake, actually, I think you had the number for the YouTube Partner Program on getting in on specifically on through Shorts views. If you want to drop that number real quick, because I'm not as familiar with that one.
10 million views. 10 million views just to get monetized with Shorts only.
Right. So that's how you would get into the YouTube Partner Program if you did Shorts only. But and Jake and I can go back and forth on this one. But I think Shorts is a phenomenal thing, right? I feel like jumping on these trends as soon as possible is always kind of the way to go. Worst case, you spend a little time, you learn something new. It's not a thing that works out. But for example, Shorts, right? It's huge. It's absolutely huge. If you're not making Shorts on the YouTube platform, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Because with the boom of TikTok and then eventually Reels and Shorts, it just gets in front of such a bigger audience, right? Because when it comes to long form content, you need intentionality. The viewer has to find the thumbnail, find the title, find it interesting, click on it, right? Or maybe if you're lucky, it just auto plays. But when it comes to Shorts, right, it just comes up in the feed. If somebody is in the Shorts tab and they're just watching videos, right, there's no intentionality behind finding it. So what that means is you just get in front of such a bigger audience, such a much more general audience, and the algorithm kind of pushes your niche to those interested in your niche. And for me, Shorts really works as a funnel system. It gets in front of a lot more people. So that means you're going to be getting a lot more subscribers that might not have ever seen your content before, might not have ever been recommended your videos before. And at the very least, it's a great way to continue building your reach and your exposure to a larger base. And for me, it's really converting kind of those people into subscribers. And if your content is very similar between your shorts and your long form, then they're going to want to watch your long form content.
Okay, so interesting takeaways. You're using it as a funnel. You want to make similar content in your short form to your long form, so you can drive people from the short form to the long form, right? That's how you're using it, David. And also, right. I'm getting the interpretation that it's kind of like a personal brand building play. Like you're getting in front of a lot of people. And if you're not doing this, according to you, you're doing YouTube wrong, correct? Maybe
yeah, I think so.
But you get where I'm getting
with,
at.
your one hand behind your back.
Sweet.
Yeah.
What about you, Jake? Are you approaching it in any different way, or does this depend on which one of your 237 channels you're working on, or what's it like for you?
Well, just to kind of preference this, I don't think that you have to funnel with shorts into long form, but I think that it significantly helps. The difference between the two audiences, though, there are audiences that mainly watch shorts, and there's audiences who mainly watch long form content. And ideally, the goal is to obviously funnel them into the long form. You get more ad revenue off the long form. Shorts revenue doesn't pretty much pays nickels and dimes. Mm-hmm. So if you get into shorts, it's a really important marketing tool, in my opinion, because you get a wider net, as David was saying, and you get a way bigger reach. So to put into perspective, one of the brands that I'm currently working on and running, in the last 3.5 months, I've grown it to over 1 million followers across the platforms from 0. So, and that's all organic, and that's all shorts. But the important thing with shorts is like, how do you monetize them, right? And like, for me, the key is it's different for each niche, right? For that niche, for me in particular, to be brand sponsorships and merchandise. But a lot of people are, maybe selling different affiliate opportunities or even courses or stuff like that. So it just really depends on where you want to go and what you want to use those shorts for, but using them intentionally. And I think the thumbnails do matter on the shorts because they do show up on the homepage now right there when you're going through. So getting shorts to go viral on YouTube, though, is a lot harder than it is on Instagram or TikTok, for instance.
Oh, Jake, real quick. Speaking of those thumbnails on shorts, I don't know if anyone noticed this, but for a long time, YouTube wasn't letting you, select your thumbnail at all. And I think in the past, 2 weeks, they finally added the option to pick a frame from your video as a thumbnail. So make sure you do that. Don't just hit post without changing your thumbnail, because again, like Jake was saying, it's huge, right? Because the right frame, as someone's scrolling through, they get that short shelf. That thumbnail is going to make all the difference.
And I want to touch on that too, because I noticed that they added that as well. But the thing is, it still glitches out. So you got to be careful. Go back and double check it before you post, because I've selected the thumbnail and then it'll deselect it. And then when you actually post a short, you can't go in and edit the thumbnail like you can with a long form video.
Right. So there's not really the same area for experimentation there, right? You pick a thumbnail and that's it.
Right. It's like a one shot. If you push that video to your subscriber base on your shorts and you miss it, the opportunity. So the next time they see that video, it's going to kill the watch duration, because they're like, why would I watch the same video twice? So you got to be really careful of this. This is just it's such a small thing, but it's so important. Yeah,
fair. But how are the two of you approaching short form content creation? Is it just cut downs of your long form, or are you making dedicated short form videos with the intention, like you say, Jake, or being intentional in how you're making it in order to drive people from the short form to the long form? How are the two of you approaching it? Do you have when you're making long form content, do you have a vertical camera that's doing the short form content as well? Or are you really zoomed out? Personally, that's a big issue for me. It becomes very, looks weird if you try to cut down the long form. So I'm curious to see how you're approaching it.
Yeah, so for me, one of the things is if you're shooting in 4K, fortunately, long form is delivered in a 1080p vertical frame. And if you are shooting in 4K, you can extract that middle portion out and you can still get a high resolution long form. So the only thing you'd obviously want to make sure is my current framing, I'm pretty large in the frame. If you just chopped out the middle right now, it'd be a pretty intense close up of my face. So I just kind of shoot with a wider shot in mind when I'm shooting my long forms, because, I do pre-plan and kind of script out, all right, what am I going to be saying throughout this video? I kind of keep it in mind as I'm making my long form. Okay, are there going to be kind of like almost like audio bites that I can take out of this long form to create kind of almost like a teaser, short form? But I also would recommend it, if that is a strategy you're taking where you're just taking snippets from your long form and re-editing it for short form, I would also recommend, for every long form you make, I would definitely create a companion short form, and really plan that short form specifically to be delivered as a short, right? Think about, they're two very different things when it comes to, keeping attention, how to pace it. So I would always recommend, definitely try to take a short form out of your long form if possible, because that's just more content you can put out there and funnel. But I would also definitely create dedicated shorts because, nothing's gonna be better than targeting the right experience for the right viewer.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a similar take, Jake, or do you have the same? Because I guess when you're growing these other channels and these other brands, are you making dedicated short form in that case only, exclusively?
Yes, I am making dedicated short form for those. And all you need, like I said, is your phone. I use my phone. I don't actually use my fancy. I don't like to get my fancy camera out. It's a lot of work I'm not a filmmaker. So I like to use my phone, and then I have some microphones because statistically, like the audio with phones is not great, but you don't need any of that. So the important thing is, do what works for you. And as long as you're creating consistent content, that's what really matters.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Oh, yeah. I want to add a piece to that, Jake. Speaking of consistency, for anyone who is, short form first, but still post long form videos, I see this all the time. I've found tons of short form creators who make very, very engaging, very fun short form content. And, they'll say, hey, link in the description to the full 5-minute video of this exchange, or, but my problem with those videos are the short form is so good, so well paced, so interesting, so much editing, right? It drew me in for a reason. When I go to the long form video, 60 seconds of that 5-minute video is edited the same way, right? Very punchy, very fun. And the other 4 minutes just felt like it was there so they could post a long form 5-minute video. And I think that's where a lot of that funneling fails, because I'll click over to the long form and I'll go, this doesn't feel like it's from the same creator. So just keep it consistent, right? If you want to funnel, if you want to convert people from short form to long form or vice versa, right? Or really just from video to video on your channel, make sure that there's consistency, because the reason why a viewer came to see your channel, stay on that and keep that going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, what you said is great, man, because like you'll notice, like you'll go from like the super short snappy stuff, which works great. But if you're not doing the same thing in your long form, like if you're doing more like talking head videos like I do on the Jake Tilk channel, then it doesn't translate well. And the important thing is it's how you market yourself. So you're packaging your content right. So you're getting people to click on it in the grocery store, and you see all the cereal boxes in the aisle, and you're like, man, that one looks good. I'm going to get that one today. So the first thing is you get people to click on the video. And then from there, you got to get people to retain and stay watching the video. And if they're flipping between content styles, which of course, short and long form content are way different types of content. But the important thing is that they're similar enough to retain that viewer if they are interested in the long form content, and be able to just keep them around as long as possible, or else they can actually hurt your videos.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And I really like the part that we're talking about consistency and audiences. Maybe we can also sort of start diving into like the nitty gritty of like, how do you actually grow your YouTube channel? How do you do that? Do you need to have more consistent CTAs? Do you need to post like maybe every other day? Do you have any specific tips for people like Herman, for example, who are starting their YouTube videos or their YouTube channels?
I think that, and I think this could be an entire video or, live stream on its own when it comes to packaging. As Jake was talking about, for long form, packaging is everything. And by packaging, I'm talking about, your thumbnail and your title, right? Like Jake was saying with the cereal, analogy, right? It could be the best cereal in the world, right? It could be the most delicious thing in the world. But if your cereal is on a boring, has a boring box and is sitting next to a very fun looking Fruit Loops cereal box, then if no one picks up your box and takes it home and tries it, then they're never going to know that this was great content with it, right? So it's all about that packaging. It's all about, in my opinion, the first step is your click-through rates. Is in 1,000 impressions, 1,000 times your video shows up on a feed, how many times do people click onto it? And that's all going to come down to how do you title your video, how do you create your thumbnails, and really we can go in on this. You want engaging, but you don't want too complicated. You want to keep the elements to a minimum, and you want to keep the titles. I think Jay can go on a little bit more on this, right? Very punchy titles puts a question in the mind of the viewer, something that they want to see. Whether it's you won't believe what happened. I mean, that's why those worked, right? The you won't believe what happened next kind of clickbaity titles. There was a reason why it worked. And Jake, if you want to tag in on this part.
Yeah, that stuff still works, man. So I want everybody in the audience at some point to either write this down or look this up right now while you're on here. It's called marketing action verbs. And you want to use those as effectively as you can in your titles. And you'll notice once you look at these and you look at this list of up to 1,000 words, right? You'll see I see this in all of the different titles on YouTube, and this is why these videos are going viral. So an example would be do this. That's like an action verb combination, right? Do this to whatever you're titling your video. So the important thing, in my opinion, is not only the title. You got to keep it short and snappy, below 50 characters if you can. But you also want to include keywords that people are searching for. So this is actually something I tell smaller YouTubers a lot in my videos, is to make search-based content that can go on the browse feed. So don't create content from the start that is just initially supposed to go viral on browse, whatever. And also don't create videos in the start that are targeted about you, right? Because if you don't have an audience, to be honest, this is going to sound bad. No one cares who you are if you don't have an audience, but you need to have that audience who cares about you to make videos about your personal life or personal things. So the important thing when you're starting these channels is to deliver value straight from the start.
Got it.
That's key. That's key. Yeah. Delivering value is absolutely, if there's nothing you take away from this session on, how do I grow a channel? How do I get my videos viewed? Why would someone click on my video if they're not getting anything out of it, right? Why are they spending maybe 10 minutes of their time watching my video if there's nothing of value there? So, step number one, deliver that value. And then step number two, deliver that value while showcasing your personality, because not only are you giving them a reason to watch what they're watching, but then also at the same time, they're going, hey, I like this guy or girl, maybe I'll watch more content from this person because I got a lot out of this and it was a fun watch. If you combine those two things over time, right, you build a brand and you build an audience, and that just snowballs.
And I guess how that ties into monetization is that once you build that audience who's dedicated, they'll be more willing to support you in whatever endeavor you pursue or whatever. I think we talked about this previously, but I'm not sure if it was Gary Vee or whoever who said it, but that it's building a personal brand is like having a bank account where you got to make deposits in order to make withdrawals, right? And if you make too many withdrawals, then more than you've made deposits, then all of a sudden you're broke and you have nothing to show for in that bank account. Would you say that's true, David, or a good summary of your point that in order to build that brand, you need to create value to be able to extract it? Maybe that's a harsh word, but I think you see what I mean.
Right. No. I think, if we're going to be completely honest here, right, it is a transactional relationship, right? That's what all of it is. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, it doesn't have to be that cold, but that is what it is at the end of the day. If I make a video and imagine I made a 5-minute video, 1 minute of that video is just my ad read, and then another minute of the video is me asking you to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Then what? I'm giving 3 minutes of value. I'm taking up 2 minutes of your time, right? You want to make sure you're over delivering on value, and then you want to minimize your call to actions, right? Try to integrate your call to actions. One tip I got that was recently really fun was, instead of taking a whole segment where you're just like, hey, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, right? Because if you're doing that often, people skip over that. If you integrate it in a fun way, right, where instead of me saying it, I just find a piece of paper that says subscribe, just as a way to integrate it into the story of your video, that's going to be a lot more fun, a lot more entertaining, and it doesn't feel like you're bombarding a viewer with CTAs in every single video for a large majority of the video, because what that does is it takes away that perceived value. And like you said, you can only pull out so much depending on how much you put in, and you'd rather have a positive balance than just always coasting on zero.
I love what you said about that, because As far as like getting people to like organically, you know, not get turned off by what we're putting out there with the call to actions is really important. So one of the things, like you have the piece of paper, what I like to do is if I have a computer monitor in the back screen, I'll put like the thumb and a subscribe on the computer monitor, and then people actually leave comments about it, which helps the algorithm even more. So if you find sly ways of actually getting those kind of call to actions in your videos, it can actually benefit your videos more than detract from your videos, in my experience. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And also, if you're not spending a whole minute talking about like, hey, like my video, subscribe to my channel, right? If people like your content, they're going to like and subscribe on your stuff no matter what. That's just the truth. So if you're not wasting that time and telling them like, hey, we need to do this at the end of the video, then you're actually going to have a higher average view duration on your video as well, which makes your video more appealing to the algorithm.
Yeah, and on that note, I think one person that does it really well that came to mind, when it comes to call to actions, is if you think about Peter McKinnon's videos, right? He's done a lot of ad integrations with a bunch of different brands, but he always does it in a fun way where it's integrated in. There's a skit going on. So instead of, and I'm going to be honest, the flip side of that is going to be Linus Tech Tips, right? It's just going to be, here's the commercial spot that you're probably going to skip over, right? Because it's not integrated. It's just an ad read. When you do it the way that Peter McKinnon does it, right? It's a lot more fun. One, you get to see his personality. Two, you're still getting to hear about, the brand that he's promoting. That's great for the brand. The brand's happy. And the audience gets to see it in a fun way. Yes, they can still skip over it, but again, it increases the chances they don't, which does help your average view duration, which does help your retention, which means it puts your video a little higher on that algorithm, right? Because it's just performing a little bit better. So it's about really just making sure it's integrated. Think about the video from the viewer's perspective. What does the viewer want to see, and focus on that? Because at the end of the day, that's why you're making the video. It's for the viewer to see.
Makes sense. Let's take this and pivot on it a little bit. So now we're talking about brand integrations, which is additional to what we spoke about earlier, ad revenue. What are some other ways to monetize your YouTube channel? I know, for example, it would be very interesting to get your take here, Jake, because I know you tried a bunch of different things, but what are some other ways? I've heard about affiliate links, I've heard about merch. Tell me.
Okay, I love this. All right. Step one, affiliate links. Since you mentioned affiliate links are my primary source of revenue from the Jake Tilk brand. And I like to sell personally monthly recurring subscriptions because people tend not to cancel their subscriptions. I'm sure many of you out there are guilty of this yourself, where you sign up for something that's monthly and you forget to cancel it. That's just extra money for you as a creator. But also the important thing is, if you are promoting affiliate links, you're promoting different brand sponsorships, to only do it with products that you use yourself and you believe in. You can alienate your audience and kill them from ever buying something from you ever again. But what I like to do is organically integrate my affiliate links within my content and show how I actually use those products, show the value that the audience can get from those products right inside of my videos, like live time. And then they can see like, here's how you do it. It's really not that hard. And like, maybe I'll try this out myself. And that'll convert more sort of long-standing customers. And I really like the idea of those monthly recurring subscriptions, just because it gets money to you every single month. And it's one piece of effort for multiple outputs of reward. The other thing is, obviously, you can do merch. Merch is really hard. Depends on the niche. I wouldn't suggest doing merch unless you have a more sort of widespread sort of channel. I wouldn't do it in like a filmmaking niche. I wouldn't do it in the business niche. I wouldn't do it in a lot of different niches, but I would do it like if I had a fishing channel, I would do it in fishing channel, because a lot of people need outdoor equipment or they need fishing lures, which, I mean, I guess we can count like making custom fishing lures as merch as well. And then the brand sponsorships are another way to do that. And those are kind of hard to get. Those won't actually roll in until you have like a dedicated following, a dedicated audience. And you got to be really careful which ones you pick, particularly small YouTubers, because brands and companies will take advantage of you if you let them. Epidemic would never do that. But
Never.
A lot of these other companies that reach out to you when you're small do look to take advantage of you and your audience. And they might even promote something that actually harms your audience, which would do detrimental things to your channel. And then there's a lot of other ways to monetize as well, but I'd say those are like some pretty big ones, besides obviously like ad revenue. And that depends, your payment for ad revenue depends on your niche as well. So if you're making video game content, for instance, it's not going to pay as much as it would if you're making business content, because typically the way you get paid off of the ads is they will pay you based on who is actually watching your videos. So advertisers are willing to pay more money for people who are older and looking to watch business videos. So they'll pay way more money to get in front of those eyes because that audience has money than they would like a video game channel with children watching it.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Jake, I don't know if I caught a little bit of a shot in there, but you said that you wouldn't do merch if you had a filmmaking channel. So pivoting over to David, who I know has a filmmaking channel and merch. What's been your experience, David, and what do you think about that?
No, listen, Jake is absolutely right. It really has to.
I don't
really
mean to
does
start
have to
nothing
suit
here.
the need of your audience, right? So merch is really just it exists, and branded, apparel really just exists for my channel for really the smaller dedicated group that really wants to rep. But I would not say it's my a large revenue source for me. It really was just there because I wanted it. However, like Jake said, you're right. If you're targeting specific groups depending on your niche, it can work really, really well. One way actually merch does work in filmmaking is there are collaborations between filmmakers and say camera bag companies like Peter McKinnon and Nomadic. Or honestly, here's a fun one. There's a few other creators like Gerald Undone, Armando Ferreira, right? They do collaborations with accessory companies, right, to have their own custom HDMI cables, right? Those kind of collaborations work really well. So as you're scaling your channel, think about what kind of collaborations work well. Hey, maybe it's custom lures, like Jake was saying. If you have a fishing channel, that would work pretty well. But outside of merchandise, I would agree with Jake. Affiliate links for my channel was definitely was the absolute largest piece of revenue, right? Because of where I was. I did talk to people about in my videos about like what camera should you get, what lighting equipment should you get, and how you go about that. If you want to do affiliate links, is you would go to Amazon, right, and you would find their affiliate program, apply for it, and then you can start, basically shooting out affiliate links for any product you can find on their page. And it worked really well because it was a very symbiotic relationship, right? Because I got to talk about equipment that I use that I would really recommend. And if a viewer bought it, what's nice is the joke is that, hey, if you want Jeff Bezos to keep 100% of the profit, you cannot use my affiliate links. But if you like to take a teeny bit of money out of Jeff Bezos's pocket and put it in mine, I would love that too. So affiliate links work really, really well there. When it comes to paid brand sponsorships, as you do grow your channel, you will start getting, different brands reaching out to you. And really, as you grow it bigger, you do reach out to brands and say, hey, I think there's a good collaboration here that's possible. I think it's your target demographic that you're looking for. And I think it truly is a beneficial service to my audience as well. For example, Epidemic Sound is super, super easy for me to promote with my audience because I'm a filmmaking and photography channel. So half of that requires audio. And hey, what better source of audio than tons of royalty-free music, right? Great sound effects. Love that. Love Epidemic Sound. Love you guys. And that's super easy to promote. That always works really well. But the big thing that Jake was saying, right, is it's got to align with your values, honestly, and your audience, right? Don't be pitching just because like, oh, hey, Raid Shadow Legends reached out to me and I'm a woodworking channel, make that bag, make that money. I'm not against that. However, you don't want to alienate your audience repeatedly, especially if you're unfamiliar with the brand, because like Jake said, it could be, not a good product, and you don't want to promote that because at the end of the day, step one, right, as you're growing your channel, the hardest thing you're going to be facing is trying to get those views, trying to build the audience. Once you build the audience, the most important thing, your biggest currency you have is trust from your audience. So you never want to go back on that because it could take you years to build something that takes seconds to tear down.
Yeah, makes sense. We're catching gems here. That Jeff Bezos line was legendary, as well as the tip, Jake, your tip in regards to leaving a little picture about, or that says subscribe or leave a thumbs up, something like that. I hope people are writing this down, or I hope I can go back and watch this again. I'll be able to, right?
Yeah, you would be.
But speaking of affiliate, I guess
yes, exactly. Because I think, like David also mentioned, that we do have an affiliate program or a loyalty program in the form of our community. And that's how we got to know both David and Jay, because we started working with them very closely. So for all of you watching, Epidemic Sound does have a community program, which means that we work directly with ambassadors and creators, empowering them with the content that they make, allowing them to stay true to their channel, to their vision, and what they want to give their audiences, basically. So I think that there is a link that you can click below And then you can start your free 30-day trial. And then you can just like use over 40,000 tracks and a lot of sound effects to your channel.
Look at us influencing.
Yeah, look at us.
Link down below.
But I think,
I mean, your guys' stuff's really good. I use it in all my stuff, so it's great value for what they offer.
appreciate it. But I think like we're getting a lot of questions from the audience, so maybe we can open the Q&A.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Do you want to take the honors?
Sure. I'm going to check Instagram first, though. No. Okay, we have a couple of questions. Should we take them in order? So first of all, I want to ask, is it possible to monetize my YouTube channel if only by completing the views criteria and lacking on subscribers?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you have views and you don't have subscribers, right? End of the day, it's going to be, and I think I wanted to touch on this earlier. If a brand reaches out to you or you want to reach out to a brand, the first thing you kind of want to have at the ready, right, is kind of a media kit. And a media kit really is just kind of like your resume, but for collaborations, you're basically saying, hey, here are my stats. Here is the demographic of people who are, watching my videos. Here's how many of them there are. Here's how my average video performs. And what that really tells the brand is, hey, for example, in this scenario, you might not have subscribers, but if you're consistently pulling, tons of views, then that's all that matters. That's all they want to get in front of, because to be completely honest, subscribers in 2023 is really a kind of almost a vanity number, because it doesn't really mean anything because of how saturated the platform is. And we're not in the yesteryears of YouTube where if you have 1 million subscribers and you post a video, that 1 million will get a notification, right? Like half the times that not everyone gets a notification. It doesn't even go to their home feed. So I think if you have views, that you're 80% done with the equation there.
Yeah, views are king. Subscriber count doesn't matter. But I do want to pose a question for you. Is if you're getting a lot of views and you're not getting subscribers, why are those people viewing your videos but not subscribing? That's just a question to ask yourself to think about, because you do want them to be subscribers so that way you can maintain those views and have them come back as a regular viewer.
Yeah. Thank you. And then maybe we can move on to the next. I can take this one. How necessary is it to ask viewers to click the classic like and subscribe? It feels a bit corny, but looking for advice on how to best gain subscribers.
Jake, you want to take this one?
How to best gain subscribers. I think the best way to just gain the subscribers is by making content that people derive value from. The keyword's value. And this is just from the business perspective. I don't care what sort of value you're delivering, whether it's a good vibe that starts them off with, good energy for the day, or it teaches them something new. The important thing is you deliver them that value. And if you deliver the value to people, then people are naturally just going to be like, yes, I want in on this. I'm going to keep coming to this. And you know what? You can make a lot of really beautiful friends and partnerships along the way.
And if you do want to keep some CTAs, right, you want to ask for the like and subscribe. I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? But keep it short and brief. Just don't take up too much of the time, because again, every second they're on the video, they might be clicking off, right? They might click off a 41-second mark. They might click off the 2-minute mark. So if your like and subscribe is a long spiel, they might be like, all right, I'm bored of this video. I'm going to click off now. It doesn't hurt to ask it though. If you want to just throw in the, hey, quick like and subscribe, and then just jump to the next part, that they're not going to click off because of a 1-second interruption.
No.
Yeah, I want to add to that too. Also, is what I like to do when I'm watching other people's videos and I like their videos, I'll be like, man, why do I like this video? Why do I want to be a part of their fan base? And I think that's an important question to ask yourself when you're editing your videos, going through your videos. Like, why would someone like this? Why would they want to be a part of my fan base?
Cool. Good advice. We're just going to take them in order here because they're coming from the audience. So if you have questions, feel free to type them down below in the comments and we'll get to them as we go. But here's the next question. Do I have to promote my channel in order to grow it? I constantly get poked by promoters who ask me to contact them if I'm interested in growing my audience. I'd love to grow my channel organically. I'd love my audience to genuinely, that was a difficult word, be interested in my content. What's your take on channel promoters and channel promoting?
No.
Scam.
No.
You don't have to promote.
No, you don't. I mean, the closest thing I would say that would be a good thing from a promote perspective is honestly is the old school, good old collaborations. Like if it's from somebody in your niche, that's the only time where I would say, yeah, absolutely jump on that, right? Like if it's somebody bigger than you, in terms of, you know, subscriber count or view count, and it's in your same niche, figure out a way to collaborate with them. But I can guarantee you, even if it was like even if Peter McKinnon shouted me out today, I mean, I'd see some sub bumps, that's for sure, but it's not as big as you would think it would be, because again, it's the whole value thing. It would be really like, all right, well, like why would I want to see this person, right? So being promoted, especially by just somebody who has no ties to you, like you might get like 10 subs. Even if you got 100 subs, they're still not going to be quality subs. They're still just going to be, you know, people who like randomly converted over from like a post or a link, and who knows, they probably might not even watch your sub. I would stay clear from being promoted, you know, especially by somebody you don't know, and just focus on creating content. That's much bigger.
And I want to hop onto that, because a lot of these promoters, what they'll actually do, like the random people that reach out, is they'll actually just bot your YouTube subscribers, and that'll actually hurt you way more than it helps you. And another thing, never bot yourself. It's going to kill your channel.
Can you clarify what you mean by that? By like paying for someone to subscribe to you? Is that a thing?
Yeah, so you can actually buy followers for any platform online, and what it does is it'll give you a bunch of dead followers that don't interact with your content, or it'll give you what they call real followers, which will be people all over the world who, you know, they go to like a website to download an app, and in order to download this app, you have to click this button, and it'll use your socials and subscribe. And so it's just going to kill your channel if you do anything of that capacity. Okay,
big no-no.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to avoid.
Huge no-no.
Really great advice. I'll jump on to the next one. And this is interesting. The question goes, I'm already monetized, but getting views is hell. I don't want to duplicate what's popular. What should I do?
So I think the first step, right, is going to be focusing on. Sorry, I just didn't know if Jake, you wanted to take that one.
Oh, I mean, I'm ready. Whatever.
Okay. I'll just say that the first thing is just going to be to focus on your content, focus on your packaging. You know, duplicating isn't the worst thing in the world, and I wouldn't say like copy somebody's idea, but just understanding what worked for a bigger creator, right? And then making sure that, you know, okay, that's the trend. Let me make sure my content is, you know, somewhat similar to that trend, similar to what is working. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think the bigger thing is, you know, if you have good ideas and you're creating content and you're just like, why is nobody, you know, looking at my stuff? Look at your analytics. You know, what's your click-through rate? How are your impressions doing? What's your average view duration on your videos? Where in, you know, like what's the average audience retention? Are people falling off in the first 10 seconds? Are people falling off at the 2-minute mark? And if you start noticing, oh, consistently at the 2-minute mark, I start going into, you know, maybe a ad roll, a mid roll, and people are just like bored of it and leave the video entirely, right? Look at your analytics to figure out where are you failing. One of the tips we didn't get a chance to cover earlier about growing your channel is about consistency and kind of, you know, when you're earlier on in growing your channel, I would focus so much on just getting reps in there, right? Pumping out videos, so that way you can start looking at the data and start understanding, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? Not maybe horrible, just what can I be doing better at? Maybe my hook and intro isn't that great, right? So maybe I have a great thumbnail and title and a great video, but the first 30 seconds is just really boring, and people never get to the second minute where I put in all the cool edits or put in all the fun stuff that's happening in the video, right? And you kind of look at that and start optimizing with each video, understanding, okay, how do I make this a better viewing experience? And you're going to see your growth there. Jake, I don't know what your take on that piece is.
Yeah, well, when you mentioned, you know, looking at your analytics, that's very, very, very important. Don't start out. You want to start off your videos actually a lot of the time with the marketing action verbs I mentioned earlier. But like when you're looking at those curves, you want to go through every single video and then write down patterns and be like, I did this here. Maybe, you know, next time you apply something that had like an increase in your viewership at the next part. It's all about trial and error. The thing with being a YouTuber, like in my opinion, or a content creator, is that like, honestly, I'm never happy with anything I create. I'm always like, I got to do better. I got to do better. And I know the question was about not wanting to duplicate other channels, but I think when you're a small creator at the start and you're just getting started, I think not necessarily duplicating, but taking a lot of inspiration from these other people and like their style, because it does work, right? Like there's a reason why these big YouTubers are big. It's because their style works. But so going through and actually using a similar style, but not taking exactly what they're doing word for word, taking their videos, but coming up with, you know, your own idea or maybe a spin on their idea and using their style can be very helpful, especially at the start, until you develop a style that works for you and your audience. So I think at the start, it's a good thing to do. I don't think duplicating is what you want to do, but just look into it.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a counter argument to that, Jake. Oh, did you lose your camera too?
Yeah.
Oh, it's overheating. We're back at it.
I would just throw in one thing here real quick. If you are really early in your, content creating journey, I would give the same advice to anybody, no matter what career field it is. And I would say that when you're just starting off, don't be ashamed to copy, because one, imitation is the best form of flattery, because you're basically saying, hey, this works and I want to get to your level. But for example, when I was working in, consulting, when I was an intern or a first year, I wasn't ashamed to be like, what did the people who are doing well do at this level, and how can I be like them, right? Or when I was starting off in photography, I didn't have my photography style yet. So, I would use other people's presets, or I would edit photos like a certain, famous photographer or a photographer I liked. Over time, you find your style, you find your voice, you find how you create your own unique content, right? And this could even be by video 3. It doesn't mean you have to do it for a long time, but starting off, imitating and mimicking really gives you a fast track to learn the skill set of what works. And there's nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to that, because it's all about the journey, right? You're not going to jump to, I came up, my first video was a viral hit and I immediately developed my style, right? Like, don't hold yourself to that expectation, because you're going to set yourself up for failure that way.
Yeah, good take. We do have one question about scams, but I think we've already covered that in regards to buying followers, in regards to promoters, etc., as some of these quick buck kind of brands. So I think we'll skip that one. But there's a final question that says, I'm worried about disengaging my audience with mid-rolls. What's your view on them? So I guess, David, what's your take on mid-rolls? Do you think they work? Do you think they should be avoided? What's your opinion?
I think if we're talking about ad mid rolls, right? Like if we're talking about brand integration mid rolls, well, one thing is you kind of have to, because if you do brand deals, right, most of the times they're like, hey, we want a mid roll, right? It's hard. You usually have to have a little bit more leverage to be like, I'm going to put your stuff at the very end. Again, it's I think we talked about it earlier, right? Peter McKinnon does it really, really well. If you're going to do a mid-roll of any kind, whether it's a call to action to, like, subscribe, share, to go join your Discord, to sign up for your course or on your website, or it's, Epidemic Sound, brand integration mid-roll, you want to make sure it ties into your video. You want to keep it as interesting as the rest of your video was. The worst thing you can do for a mid-roll, even if it's just a CTA, is to just cut away from the fun content that everyone's been watching to then just stand around and, read off your mid-roll script, right? That is the worst thing you can do with your mid-roll. Keep it engaging, keep it consistent with your branding, and have fun with it. And I think that is the most important thing, because the truth is your mid-roll will disengage people, because it's like a commercial popping up during your favorite show. No matter how good that commercial is, it's not the show I was watching. So the closer you can get that commercial to the show, then the better odds you are on retaining that audience.
Cool. Nice. Great take. Jake, I'm not sure if you wanted to add anything, because that was the last question.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, one more time. I fixed my camera.
Okay, so David just gave a great take on mid-rolls, and basically it being linked to your content, similar to the other content you're making. Do you have any additional takes on mid-rolls?
I think mid-rolls are a great way to bump your income up. I don't think that they really alienate the audience too much. I think they're used to it from seeing it on the platform. I know I'm used to seeing mid-roll ads from being on the platform, especially for some of these larger creators. I think as far as incorporating the mid-rolls, you don't want to put a bunch of ads on every part of your video, but you just want to just keep it simple, keep it clean, and it won't bother the people too much.
Cool.
I think we have one last question. Do you want me to take it?
Go for it.
So the last question for this round is, we cannot add affiliates in our videos. Would want to add them to the video descriptions. It seems flooded with links. What is the best way to do affiliate marketing without hurting the channel?
I got you. Okay, so when in the descriptions, you want to actually put your affiliate links near the top, label what they are, and then what I like to use is I use like emoticons, so you can pull them up on Google. I use like little arrows to point to important things in my video descriptions, and then I'll have all the other links, like the less relevant affiliate links, spaced out underneath. So I actually separate them much like paragraphs in an essay to make it not only easier for people to read. A lot of that comes from copywriting. So if you want to go look at marketing copywriting, you'll see, a way to space that up to make it look like it's not just a flood of links and information. And I think that that's a really important thing. So just put those things at the top, put those affiliate links at the top, but only put the very relevant ones to that video at the top.
Yeah, I was going to say format them to look pretty so that it's easily readable. Don't have, 12 links back to back without like a header to tell you what they are. If you can use any sort of link shortening service, there's some free ones out there. There's some paid ones out there. I use Genius Link so that way you can just get a short vanity link just so it looks nicer. If you want some great examples, go ahead and check out Jake Tilk's YouTube channel or my YouTube channel and look at any of the recent videos and you can see kind of how we format them. Self-plug. But no, really though, I think it's not that bad. It's just a matter of breaking it up, making it visually, readable. That's basically how we've been doing our affiliate link, like marketing in terms of our revenue from that. And I think it's not that hard to do.
Another way is with, you guys have seen all those like link trees and beacons. So you can basically put all of your links into one link. In my opinion, I don't like doing that with affiliate marketing in particular because that requires 2 clicks from the consumer to get to the end product. So in any time, like when you're trying to sell something, you want to make it as effortless as possible for the person that you're trying to sell it to. So like, when you have to register for an account to sign up for something, like it just adds an extra layer of drop off for people who might actually convert. So if you have just an affiliate link itself, it might work better, but you can also experiment with the sort of the link tree sort of things and see what works best for you and your audience, because everyone's audience and channel and platform is different.
Amazing. I think we've gotten a lot of great tips. How does it feel better now that you're...
I feel like I'm going to be the next Mr. Beast now.
Amazing.
After this talk.
Thank you so much, Jake and David. It was really great insight and great advice. I think we took a really interesting journey from like talking about monetization to talking about the value you add as a creator and the value of your content. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. David, Jake, thank you so much. You're lovely guys. I certainly learned a lot from you. Like Sheila said, don't forget to check out the link down below in the description. Hit the subscribe button. It's completely free of charge. What a bargain, right? And hit that notification bell so you're notified when these live videos come up in the future. And if you have any of these other topics that you want to talk about in these lives, leave them down below as well.
Let us know.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.